broadcasting live from our studio in Appleton, Wisconsin. You're tuned into Fox Cities Core on WCZR Code Zero Radio. We're the show that gives you an opportunity to call in and be a part of the show. Our call-in line is 920-358-0795. Core. Joining me right now in the studio, we have a heavy two-piece powerhouse out of Kalamazoo, Michigan. They're out on the road supporting their new record, Casket Schwagg, which came out last May. It's on Learning Curve Records. Please welcome Garrett and Blake from Bronson Arm to Fox Cities Core. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for doing this. And you are playing tonight in Appleton at the Appleton Beer Factory with the French Irish Coalition, a great band. The friend of the show, they've been here a lot. Awesome. And Vile Bees, another great band. How did you get to meet Travis and the guys in the French Irish Coalition?
I think we stumbled upon them, on the internet and reached out to them or just connected somehow because, we're a two-piece, they're a two-piece. I'm a fan of any two-piece band. I want to see how other two pieces do their thing and work it and manage it and be creative with it. And so we connected, and I think we've kind of been in touch for a few years and have talked about playing shows together. It just hasn't lined up until now. So,
and what a great time. We were talking earlier about this is the kickoff of summertime where it seems like there's just a ton of stuff going on. And
yeah.
How often do you guys get out on the road?
I mean, in general, we try to get out of our region once a month if we can, but just for, just like weekenders, a couple of days, and then a couple times a year we try to, because if it's just like a 3-day thing over a weekend, you can't get terribly far out of your region. So a couple times a year we try to get further than that. We'll go out for a week or 2 weeks and have fun.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but tomorrow you are in Minneapolis?
That's correct.
Nice. And you're right you're at the tail end of this outing.
That is correct.
Great. Well, let's talk a little bit about your sound, because your sound is a unique one. It's like you mentioned, a two-piece band. You play baritone. Garrett, of course, a monster on the drums, but it's such a full sound. And I've heard, I think you describe it as like noise rock. What is the current, and that's probably a changing definition depending on,
Correct. Yeah, I mean, I think noise rock probably is the best accurate description. It's rock and roll. It's noisy, very punk influence. But if I say punk, it doesn't sound like punk. But it's like rooted in punk. So yeah, I think noise rock is kind of the best tagline for it.
Well, genres can change. Like you mentioned, inspired or coming up in something. Genres, I think, can morph. When you think of punk, it's like, okay, the Ramones or something like that.
70s versus 80s versus 90s. Like every era kind of has its own spin on it. So,
well, what were you listening to when you got into playing guitar? Was that your first instrument?
Bass guitar was. Then drums. And when I met Garrett, I was getting fixated on playing more drums, and then I met Garrett and was like, I should leave that for talented professionals like Garrett.
And I believe the two of you met at some school function. Can you elaborate on that?
I think we met. Our partners met first, and then we all kind of hung out at One Well at a brewery. But I think our kids went to the same school. So yeah, like we were all from out of town, so kind of just ended up in Kalamazoo around the same time.
And at that point, the bonding point between the two of you might have been that you'd been in previous projects. Is that right? Or that you both had an interest in music at that point?
Yeah, I was really impressed by, did the whole what do you do type of thing. And
small talk.
Yeah, he does like mastering and building pedals, and I thought that was really impressive. And that was stuff I wanted to do, way back when. And went kind of another route, but actually learned a lot about that type of audio engineering stuff from him as well. So down the road.
Yeah, he's going to school for it now, which is awesome.
Mm.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I read somewhere, Garrett, that you were in a project that you had taken a big chunk of time off from playing music. Is that right or inaccurate?
Yeah. So before we started playing, I was in the military. I was on submarines in the Navy. So I didn't play very often in that 10-year span. But before that, I was all about music and shows and wanted to kind of have a little studio or something. And so I thought, wow, that's really cool that he's already doing that. And he had that whole thing set up, and he's really good at it.
Tell me about the first time you guys got together to experiment. Was it just getting together to jam, or did you have the idea going into it that this was going to be a band that was going to go on?
It was definitely just for fun. I remember Garrett saying that he used to play drums but hadn't in practically a decade. I was like, dude, you got to get over to my house this weekend, shake off the cobwebs, and just we'll just have some fun. And that's where it started. And then for me, it was honestly 30 seconds of listening to him shake off the cobwebs. I was like, oh yeah, this he can really play the drums. He's gonna pick it back up. I knew right within 30 seconds that there was the possibility for something really cool to happen.
Well, Garrett mentioned that you were building pedals and doing that kind of thing prior. Were you in any projects before Bronson Arm?
Yeah. The project before Bronson Arm was a band called The Great Goddamn. That was when I lived in Seattle, and I did that band for about 7 years, and at the time was kind of limited with what we were able to do because my wife and I we had a kid. He's now 16, so that allows things like this for us to get out of state and get out of town for a week and do stuff. But yeah, Great Goddamn was also a two-piece, except I was playing bass and doing vocals.
Was the style similar? The kind of the grungy low end?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely detuned and fuzzed out. But that project felt a little more punk influence. This project, even though at times we're spastically fast and aggressive, with this project, I think we're able to slow things down at times and let things breathe a little bit, which I think is a good thing. So,
tell me about recording that first self-titled album.
That was that was a challenge because we basically wrote a set, played it out, lined up our first gig, and then 2 weeks later, COVID hit. And not just COVID hit, but it was shutdown time. And we were so anxious and excited to get going, but we decided to, be productive with the time we had. So we just started recording in my basement. And that took time because, especially at the time, nobody knew what was going on. So it would be I'd call him on the phone and be like, I'm upstairs in the control room. Everything's wiped down and sanitized in the basement. You can use the side door. I have microphones and headphones, so let me know when you're down there. And we just kind of did it like that.
What a crazy time.
So we did it like that over a course of a few months. And then, that's how the first record happened.
So you're never actually in close proximity during that time. It was almost like ships passing.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, for a period, because I think as time was going on, people's mental approach to it was like, oh, well, you can have a group, a pod or whatever of people that, so I think at a certain point we're still taking precautions, but didn't necessarily feel we had to be in separate rooms.
Do you feel the early phase of the band when COVID hit being so new, do you think if something like that happened now that the band would be able to survive a year or a year and a half without going out and playing shows?
Yeah. I mean, I think we both enjoy the process of making records and writing stuff. I mean, playing live is, I think Garrett would agree, is kind of where it's at, but equally feel productive and good and positive about the behind the scenes stuff. So,
Bronson Arm is one of those bands too. When I'm listening to it, I almost feel like you've got to experience it live because of the energy and the singing. There is the baritone guitar and the drums together are providing colors that you would normally get in the singing, but you're playing a lot of cool, I don't know what they're to say, they're licks or like getting a lot of cool sounds out of that baritone guitar. How many pedals are you carrying around with you?
I mean, yeah, I under 10. I'd have to look at it. They're kind of, I use the pedal board mainly as it's kind of just like a big preamp in a splitter. So most of the pedals are on all the time, but I have a couple of effects loops and bypasses and mutes that I'll actively use, but the main bulk of the pedals they're just on, and it's just creating the textures and space, and it's kind of separating and isolating, because one signal goes to a bass rig and the other goes to a guitar stack, so it's kind of dialing in those separate tones.
Garrett, when you guys are doing live shows, has there been any show where you can't hear Blake's instrument at all, and how do you adapt to that? Autopilot or?
Well, we've been playing to a click lately, which helps. But yeah, there definitely has been some shows where I can't hear, or he's too loud and I can't even hear myself.
That's probably.
Or you don't get any vocals. Sometimes it happens. I don't know, you just roll with it and try to lock up.
So with the click, are you doing any triggered sounds or any loops or anything?
That's kind of the plan. We're still kind of brainstorming what we're gonna do with it, but we have a few things we'd like to try to go along with the click. So, extra sounds or lights or whatever.
So tell me, when the second album, when you started recording that, it was a pretty short period after you released the self-titled album. I think it was a year later.
Yeah.
That you released Casket Schwagg. First of all, what does Casket Schwagg mean? Does it literally mean what you would think it means?
To me, I was envisioning. Well, I was thinking of a couple things. I was thinking of Schwagg, like branded items that are given away at conventions, or like a store with a pen with a store or brand's name on it, like just Schwagg. But I was also thinking of when I was younger, and I don't know where to take that story. A reference to drug culture, and then Coffin. I like the idea of thinking about ancient societies where they would put, emperors all the gold would be loaded in their tomb and their coffin, and then I was just kind of thinking of the opposite of, instead of tokens put in a tomb to honor a leader, tokens put in a casket to disrespect a leader. I'll put it like that, and I'll leave it there.
I love that. It's trying to think of, like, when I first heard it, I thought of Schwagg in coffins, because sometimes people bling those things out.
Yeah.
historically. But that goes along with what you said about the tombs and all the gold and stuff that would be put in there to honor. So
Yeah.
and I thought it was interesting. So the Casket Schwagg, it kind of picks up where the self-titled left off. And I would guess from how you've been regularly putting out albums, when can we expect the third album? Because we're running about a year after Casket Schwagg came out.
It's true. We're behind schedule.
Is that the goal, an album a year?
That's just the way it happened the first time around. The first time around, we made the record, and the label we're working with, Learning Curve Records, which is based out of Minneapolis, was really excited about it, and adamantly was like, they were like, I want to put this out, but I also have like 5 other albums I'm putting out in this period, so we can put it out like, next year. And we were kind of like, yeah, if you're gonna work with us, we want to work with you. We can wait a year. So we immediately just started working on the next record. So by the time the first record came out, we were almost done preparing, or at least writing and getting the pre-production stuff done for the second, So there's a little bit of a overlap there.
Where do you normally write most of your songs? Do you do it in practices, or do this stuff constantly? Do you do it separately? When does the writing typically happen?
It's all the above. I mean, there's stuff we jam on together and make kind of spontaneously, and then there's stuff that I'll prepare and bring, and then we hash it out and tweak it, and then same. Garrett will come up with beats, and we collaborate.
Garrett, are you self-taught, or did you take lessons?
Yeah, self-taught. I've never had a drum lesson, I don't think. I've just kind of picked things off from people over the years. I like that. What you just did, I'm going to use that, And then you kind of build up a little arsenal. But yeah, self-taught. A couple guitar lessons, but not really that good at theory or anything like that.
And did you have any drum heroes?
Not really. I was always kind of had my ear to the underground, I guess, and was just finding new bands and stuff and going to a lot of shows and would see. Just kind of enjoyed watching drummers in general. But I had a friend in high school named Chris Arias, and he showed me a lot of things on drums, so very early on, and gave me some pointers that definitely helped over the years.
In your style, how would you describe your style of playing? And
play hard, try to serve the song, and try to make it unique. I try not to do maybe the first thing that comes to mind just because it's something we've heard before, I'm not always trying to do 4 on the floor. I just want to make each beat unique in its own way,
Has there ever been a time where you have written a drum beat and then changed it because I don't know if percussion is like playing a guitar or bass where melodically you hear something and then it reminds you of a certain song and you change it because that sounds like Satisfaction from the Rolling Stones or something.
Yeah,
like
that has happened, and sometimes we'll just change it a little bit, or it'll just kind of grow on you, and you'll accept it.
How critical is Blake of certain? If you really throw an idea outside the box, is Blake all for that, or does he push back?
Usually no pushback, and he doesn't have too many notes on how I should play it. If I start playing like a D beat or something, he'll probably stop playing guitar. But that's not what we're doing. But yeah, no, in general, he lets me do what I want.
So in Kalamazoo, how in demand are drummers? Because I know in the Fox Cities, drummers are like the most they're the most in demand because it seems like everybody wants to pick up a guitar or a bass, and then all of a sudden when you get to the point of playing shows, there's a drummer shortage. Is it the same way in Kalamazoo?
Yeah, it is.
How are you in any other bands right now then?
Yeah, I'm in like 4 bands.
Okay.
Same with him, dude.
Sounds like every drummer in the Fox Cities, they're in a bunch of bands, including Travis from the French Irish Coalition is in a bunch of bands. Holly and the Nice Lions. He's in the Foamers.
Nice.
I'm probably forgetting a bunch of them right now, but yeah, so that's interesting. And then, were you in any other bands, Blake, or just
right now? This is
just Bronson Arm?
Yeah.
Nice. Well, also that probably makes it where you don't have to divvy up song ideas or decide if you need to roll this one down the hill to this band or.
I would not be good with managing that at all. So yeah, one band is perfect for me.
Has any of Garrett's other band shows conflicted with shows or any double booking ever happened, Garrett?
It's gonna happen from time to time, but it's not hasn't been an issue yet.
No, yeah, not yet. We had a close call. We got almost had an invitation to play a big kind of festival, and I had a show at my house later that night. Well, one was in Milwaukee and the other one was in Kalamazoo. And we're like, yeah, we could do it.
Just have to drive really fast.
It's all right. It's not happening that way anyway. But so.
We had a question. This is kind of jumping a little ahead to what I want to talk about later, but was the couch actually on fire in the video for Pleasure Bray?
Yes.
If so, does Blake enjoy danger?
I enjoy fire. I'm absolutely a pyro. Absolutely 100%. Well, the funny story about that video is the initial vision I had for it was the character sitting on for people listening to this who haven't seen the video, it's a character in a suit and tie reading a newspaper on a couch in the middle of the woods and oblivious to what's going on around them, and then the couch all of a sudden is on fire. And the idea was just this, in my head, the character represented like a corporate Wall Street figurehead that's just obsessed with their own world and what's on the news and the stock market and oblivious to what's going on around them while everything's on fire. And the vision was to just be a single shot the whole time, where there's kind of a pause and then the couch is on fire and it's slowly building and then it's the end of the video. But we didn't plan on how quickly the couch would, be 10-foot high flames, which ended up being about 45 seconds. And then it was like, I can't be sitting here anymore. So I had to get up and get out of the frame. But, and then we were like, well, okay, we have like 2 more minutes of video footage we have to come up with. But that was really fun. That was a really fun project. Yeah.
Well, and that leads me to the question. You've got an art background, don't you?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I went to the University of Montana, and I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts in painting and drawing. I think when I started pursuing that, that program and that degree, at the time I was envisioning being an art teacher. But shortly after attending the university there, I just became obsessed with music and recording. And halfway through the program, realized I was like, I don't want to. I'd rather do something related with music than the visual arts. But I'm already 2 years into the program, and I figured it was best to just. It was important to me to finish what I started. And then in my head, I was like, I'll look for a program for audio engineering. But then by the time that time came around that maybe I would have done that, I was landing jobs at recording studios. So I kind of skipped that part and just dived right in. Yeah.
How much of your art background have you used in Bronson Arm? Are you coming up with most of the ideas for the videos and the cover artwork and things like that?
Typically, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I do a lot of the visual needs for the band, T-shirts, stickers, posters, and whatnot. But I think one area that I didn't anticipate or really think about was how certain concepts in the visual arts field absolutely overlaps with music. Maybe it's just something simple like the dynamics and the composition and changing things up and tone and texture and balance. There's a lot of concepts that I learned and explored in art school that I'm absolutely picking up and applying to what we're doing with sound. Well,
it seems like the visual aspect of being a musician is definitely, I feel, more than it used to be, because you've got to be constantly posting, putting out. It's not even just putting out a new album. It's like putting out a fresh picture or a fresh clip of something, or
very fit. I mean, especially over whatever the last 15 years with social media taking off. There's the visual representation of a band and how they put themselves out there is important. So,
and some people enjoy that aspect, and some people don't. Is that something that you're taking on in the band? Is one of your jobs is keeping the social media up, or does Garrett also partake in that?
We tag team it, but I maybe do a little bit more of it, but absolutely Garrett's helping and posting and doing things, and he'll pitch me ideas and vice versa, and it's like, yeah, that's a great idea. Just whatever you were thinking, just do it,
Have you been doing anything special on this run of shows?
Well, one thing that's new is we're bringing our friend Ryan Fluke along for the ride. He's in his own right a super talented visual artist and multi-instrumentalist, but a good friend of ours. We were chatting, and we were talking about the festival that's it's going on right now up in Minneapolis, but we'll be playing it tomorrow. And he was saying that he wanted to try and maybe figure out how to go up there and catch it, because I've been telling him how amazing it is. And I was like, well, if you want to just come for one day of the festival, we're going to go on a 5-day tour on our way up there. We'll, cover hotel and food and tickets and show you a good time. You can ride with us. So he's helping us a lot on this run, just documenting stuff, and he's a good hang. So we're super stoked to have him.
We were talking. Blake was talking about Ryan, who's with. Ryan's going to be a special guest co-host for the rest of the show. So hopefully pulling out some hard questions. Ryan, feel free to ask anything you want whenever you want. Or,
sure, sounds good.
Oh, I need to get your microphone on. How's that?
Check. Sounds good.
There's the headphones for you. So we had the question about the burning couch. We talked about your art background. You had a video called "To Live Deliciously," which I thought was hilarious. That idea for that video, who came up with that idea?
I came up with that, and then Garrett helped me hash out what we could realistically pull off. Because I think that's the way a lot of the videos go. Is and God, any kind of art, whether it's visual or music, is you oftentimes have a vision of what you want the end result to be, but have to come to terms with what you're going to be able to realistically pull off and create. And sometimes that changes in the creation process, where as you're going, you're like, actually, I want to change that. I want to do this instead. And then sometimes it's just you're just having to face realities where it's like that idea that I don't have $10,000 to create. with your limited resources or time or whatever it is, So it's always changing and evolving, and I think that's part of what being in a band is collaborating and coming up with what you can do with limited resources, which I think is fun.
Who was the singer in that video and the karaoke leader?
Yeah, that was our good friend Chantel, who is in a absolutely amazing band called Tongue Cutter, which is also on the same label, Learning Curve Records, with us. And I knew she would understand what we were looking for, which is, in the video there's an empty dive bar and a gal going up to do karaoke, and she looks really shy and timid and nervous and not comfortable at all. And then our song is the song that comes on karaoke, and then you have the lyrics in the background, on a screen, the way often is in karaoke. And then through the journey of the song goes from being really shy and timid to being an insane maniac.
I loved it when it would say instrumental on the back, and then you and Garrett too. Like you did really well at acting like you were very uninterested in her singing, and of course then at the end of the video you're wondering where it's going to go. I thought that was just a great video, and then of course you had the video for Casket Schwagg, which is a little darker.
Oh yeah.
When I saw the disclaimer, I thought, okay, this is going to go somewhere, dark, and it did.
Yeah.
But that aspect with Bronson Arm, I think, is unique, that you guys are putting up videos of that caliber, because it's something that not every band does, but it is very interesting, and it does add an element where you're listening to the song, but you're listening more closely because you're watching it.
Yeah.
Or you're watching something, and then it ends up being the soundtrack in your mind, for that tune. How long does it take you to do a video like that?
The majority of the time is the planning and preparations. Like we have collaborators and friends that are incredibly generous and gracious with their time, and so I think it's important to keep it simple. So it's usually like just one location, one afternoon, and then, but usually it'll be like 2 months of preparations and planning and how are we going to pull this off kind of thing, so that when we're there on location, we know what we're doing, we have everything we need, and we can just get in and get it done and get out.
Is there a song on Self-Titled that you wish you had a video for, but you can't now because it's an album that's not the latest album?
I wanted videos for every song. That's part of. We have an abnormally large amount of videos for the first album because, again, it was like we made the album and then knew there was time before it was going to be released, and we were just anxious and just wanted to be productive. So I was like, well, let's make another video. We got time. So
how supportive are your families with Bronson Arm? And where do you practice? At one of your houses?
Very supportive, and we practice at my house usually.
Do all your bands practice at your place?
Yeah, mostly. We turn my garage into a DIY space, so we have shows down there sometimes, but sometimes we'll practice down there. But there's also another room that used to be a dance studio, ballerinas and stuff, I think. But so that's a decent little space that we usually practice in.
And is it just super loud? If it's a garage, I can imagine the loudness of it.
It's not too bad. The house has been added on to over the years, so there's a lot of brick walls, and so we've had shows in the garage and putting the kids to bed at the same time. It's fine.
It's definitely loud in the garage.
Yes.
But surprisingly isolated for what it is. Yeah.
And the family's completely okay with it. They're like,
Yeah, every now and then they're like, another practice, but yeah, they're supportive.
Yeah, I think both our spouses, they are very tolerant and gracious, and yeah, they let us do a lot. We're very grateful.
probably happy you guys are out on the road. You're not like doing the practices at the house. Did they ever have any interest in going out on the short runs that you guys do once in a while?
Not
really.
I mean, I think I'd say there's of course like an interest where it's like my wife Carly will be like, Minneapolis. I want to go to Minneapolis, and I'm like, well, you could come with us, but we're doing 5 shows before we get there. You don't get to hang. Like, today is unique for us. We're gonna finish this up, and then we're gonna have 2 whole hours before it's like work mode, like load in, sound check, get things ready, double check our equipment, do the show, hang around for a while after the show, go to the hotel room, sleep, get up at 9 a.m., hit the road, drive up to Minneapolis. It's very nonstop. And when we get to cities, we typically have between 20 minutes and maybe an hour and a half of time where we can relax. And usually it's like, let's go to the hotel room and just decompress for a minute.
Have you been to Appleton before?
No, this is our first time. It's beautiful up here.
Okay, well, I'm sure you must have heard some things about the city. Like, are you aware that like Willem Dafoe is from Appleton?
I didn't know that. That is awesome.
Also, Houdini lived here as a little kid.
Wow.
That's there.
That's
Downtown, There's Houdini Plaza, which is allegedly around the site of his childhood home.
Cool. Oh, wow. But that is so cool.
But I'm curious, so you haven't even been to the venue tonight at Appleton Beer Factory.
No, we rolled into town like 20 minutes before we got here.
You mentioned normally you don't have time to go around and check things out, but are there cities that you play in that you want to make sure you carve time out to play tourist before the show goes on, or is it just hard to focus on anything except the show prior? Making sure you have ample time to get to the venue and...
I mean, that's a good question.
You get there like 2 hours early just so you're there.
I would say any of the cities that are new to us, we're excited about visiting. It just depends on the way things line out. Like when we're planning a tour, it would be great for it to be a linear trip with 3-hour drives in between, but maybe the city you want to play on a Thursday, their venue's already booked out. So then you have to zig and zag, and so the drive times change, and you just kind of have to roll with the dice. What was that one?
We went to the St. Louis Arch.
Yeah.
That was kind of like like tourist attraction we've been able to do.
We did one time. We had a couple hours in Chicago, and we did checked out the Arboretum and some parks and stuff. And my thing is, I want to find every city's best tacos, and I want to find their best milkshakes. Today my goal is hopefully I can find a gyro. I'll change it up a little bit, find a gyro. But
there are definitely gyro places here in Appleton.
Awesome. Awesome.
Ryan, you've been a little quiet over there, so I'm going to get you pulled in.
For sure.
When was the first time you heard Bronson Arm?
It was right when I moved to Kalamazoo. I think they had reached out. I used to live in Grand Rapids, and I ran a DIY space called Space Church. And they had reached out about trying to play there, I believe. And I was just starting a spot down in Kalamazoo, so I was like, well, that place is no longer in existence, but I just started this spot. And you guys were about to put out His Ilk, I believe. So he wanted to do kind of like a video release show for it. So I just listened through a few of their tracks and I was like, yeah, that would be great. First show I threw in Kalamazoo was like one of those weekends right around Halloween, so just everybody was out ready to party. That was 21, 22? I think it was 21, October of 21, roughly.
Yeah.
What do you remember what you thought of their sound the first time you heard it?
I was like, yeah, this is cool. I don't know any bands that really sound quite like this. I remember thinking a little vocally. I was like, maybe a little bit of like Rage Against the Machine, but a little different. It's more noisy. Yeah, it's been cool to know these guys for a few years and listen to them evolve too. Just the sounds, it's rooted still the same, but it's cool to see how the songs have just gotten harder, gotten better. Yeah.
And are there any comparisons that you guys don't like that you hear a lot? I'm going to guess the Black Keys because you're a two-piece, and people just see two-piece, they're like, you guys are like the Black Keys.
Well, yeah, I mean, people probably say because we're from Michigan, they say the White Stripes, but that's just because we're from Michigan. And, I mean, that's fine, because I love the White Stripes, and I adore the Black Keys, especially the early stuff. But yeah, I would say usually people are fairly accurate with comparisons, and it's fun to hear ones that we didn't expect, because they're hearing some sort of parallel, and it's fascinating to maybe get a glimpse into how other people experience it.
And I've read people comparing you to like the Sonic Youth and bands like that, but I think that's like the textures and layers and the sonic sound of it
and feedback. But exactly, on the same token, we don't sound anything like Sonic Youth. I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe we do. I don't know.
Well, I believe you guys are from opposite coasts too originally, right? I think I saw something about New York and California. How did you guys end up in Kalamazoo?
So I grew up in Southern California, but I was getting out of the Navy from upstate New York. And Kalamazoo had a lot of boxes checked on our list of, pros and cons. We were looking at, Seattle and Asheville, kind of like hipstery towns. But Kalamazoo had a great cost of living. They have the Kalamazoo Promise, so if your kids go through public school, they can go to college for free, which is cool. We found work out there, so that's kind of how I ended up there.
And very similar. I mean, my wife and our family, we were in Seattle and loved it, but when we started a family, realized maybe financially there's other places where we could breathe a little bit more. And yeah, Kalamazoo for us, what attracted us to it was we wanted a college town, like a liberal arts kind of vibe to it, and we wanted proximity to larger metropolises. So, Chicago's 2.5 hours away and Detroit's 2.5 hours away. So we can, if a big touring band or, art museums, things that we're not going to get in Kalamazoo are still, we can easily reach them in a day and come back. We can go to Detroit for the day.
Have you been to Third Man Records?
Oh yeah. It's fun.
Is there a place, a music place like that you have not been to yet that you want to go? A music location or?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, well, I've never been to the
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
That'd be
I haven't
cool.
been there. I want to check that out. But at the same time, I don't even know where it is. Where is it?
Cleveland.
Cleveland. Yeah, well, next time we're in Cleveland with 20 minutes, we'll do our best to swing by and hit it.
Well, have you played Cleveland before?
I don't think so.
I think just south of Cleveland, no, but not Cleveland proper, no.
So I think if you're on doing shows on a tour, you get in for free, which is nice.
That is awesome.
We should do that.
Mad respect. That is cool.
Yeah. So with the next album, we oh jeez, like breaking stuff here. We kind of talked about it. The direction is going to be similar to Casket Schwagg. Ryan kind of said though that the
new
sound
one
was growing. Yeah.
It's still taking shape. I mean, it's one of those things that I think Garrett and I are we're getting our stride. So I think no matter what we do, I think it's going to sound like us. To it, you know what I mean. But as far as the finer details around what it sounds like, we'll just have to see. I mean, we want it to be fresh to us and exciting and try to cover new territory. We'll just have to see what it is.
I'm glad you used the word new territory because you guys announced that you're playing Fest down in Florida.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. That's exciting. That's cool.
Yeah. We're very excited about it. Seems like a really cool festival. Glad that they gave us a shot. Went to a wedding kind of recently, and it seemed like everybody knew each other from Fest. So, that's a good sign.
I've got some friends that go down every year, and I'm always hearing stories. I've never been down there, but it sounds like its own thing, for sure.
Seems like there's a really strong community around it. I think when it came onto Garrett's in my radar, it looked cool because it was just like, oh, it's a large festival with a lot of bands, and B, it seems to be focusing on up and coming and DIY kind of based artists, a lot of them stemming from punk. But then when we realized we were going to be part of it this year, I think both of us did a little more research, a little more digging into what it is, and it's really cool to see how it's grown over the years. It definitely started off as a festival with off the top of my head, I want to say 20 bands, and then it's every year they got bigger and bigger and bigger. I don't know the official tally number for this year, but it's something like 350 bands, all funneling down from everywhere down to Florida for one weekend. So it'll be, it's going to be an experience.
Last question for you, Bronson Arm. Tell me where the name came from. That's a question you've probably answered 100 times.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's strange. I always liked band names that just maybe not necessarily jarring, but it's doesn't make sense. What the hell is a Bronson Arm? But it's a reference to a lyric from a band called KARP, which stands for Kill All Redneck Pricks, and they were kind of in the 80s and early 90s out of Olympia, Washington, and just kind of for me, I liked how brutally heavy the band was, but they by design did not project a overly macho thing. You could tell they're serious about their music. It's very, it's serious, but they're having fun, and they're not putting up a front of I'm a tough guy. It's just heavy music that I feel a lot of people can get behind. Yeah.
Where can people go to find out more about Bronson Arm?
We just got a website going, bronsonarm.com. We'll have the basic links to, where to hear us, where to see the videos, things of that nature. Yeah. Or social links and whatnot.
And of course, if people are interested in catching you guys live tonight at the Appleton Beer Factory, Appleton, Wisconsin, right there on College Avenue, down the street from Houdini's childhood home.
That's awesome.
You can see Bronson Arm, Vile Bees, and French-Irish Coalition, of course.
We make very loud music, so bring your earplugs. And even though it's
loud, aggressive music. We're pretty nice guys. We just like to chill and hang, so come on out and hang.
Want to thank you guys, Garrett, Blake, Ryan. Thanks for being the unexpected guest host there.
No problem.
Appreciate you guys coming in. Appreciate Travis for syncing me up with you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Check out their latest album, Casket Schwagg. Any parting words?
Don't give up. Keep fighting.